The title of tonight's training is, if you want the spark back in your marriage, thumbs up, thumbs down. Do you want that spark back? And would you like to woo somebody, if you're single, that you like, you have a crush on them, and you can't really tell if they have a crush on you, but you would like to create that crush, or at least get some certainty so that you don't embarrass yourself as you talk to them. And it's easy to embarrass oneself. At least that's what we tell ourselves. So how to get that spark back and how to woo somebody is tonight's training on relationships. And you really just need to pass 3 tests. You don't even have to get a 70, an 80, a 90 on this test. If you even get like a 65 on this test, you pass. And if you're single, you may like someone, but you don't know how to get their attention. You've been there, yes or no? Well, maybe you could get their attention, but you don't want to blow it once you do get their attention. You finally make eye contact. You don't want to bumble, stumble, and mumble. And when you approach, you're like, am I too much? Am I too overwhelming? Should the girl not approach the guy? Should the guy approach the girl? If I am the guy and approach her, will I scare her off in this Me Too society? Will I weird her out? Will I be worse, friend zoned? Currently, you think there's maybe a spark and you just don't want to ruin it. Well, how do we turn that spark into a flame? And if you don't know if there is a spark, how do you create the spark? Because you've identified this person, or maybe you haven't yet, but you will identify a person. You're like, man, I'd love there to be a spark there. This is some of the ways you're going to be able to do that tonight. Now, what about if you're already married and it's become stale? You guys used to be excited about things, doing things together. And now she has her thing, you have your thing, and you don't always fight, but you're kind of just drifting and maybe even a bit apathetic, right? Every once in a while you feel alive again, but it's slowly becoming the norm that you feel kind of stuck, sad, lonely, in a rut. And you care, you really care, right? If you're married, and your heart doesn't want to go astray and do something terrible, but you maybe feel even sparks for other people, but you're not feeling the chemistry and the sparks with your spouse. And over time, you feel less and less like your marriage is ever going to get that fire and that flame to feel alive again. And you're worried about that. And that's why you're showing up, because you really want that, don't you? Like it can be tough out there, and you're like, what do I do about this? I want to feel like, you don't just want to get to the end of your life and say, wow, I was married for a long time. You want to feel alive, you want to feel in love, you want to feel cherished, you want to feel respected, and you want to feel the fire again. Or maybe you're just seeing all these other couples and it's like, is this the way it's supposed to be? Is it just unrealistic to have this? And just accept that, ho-hum kind of life. Well, let me just briefly say, before we interact, to affirm you, if you are ever disappointed in your relationship status, you're single, you're not with somebody, and you're disappointed. You're married, and you're disappointed in your marriage. I think that's a good thing. It's a good sign because, number one, it means that you care. Right? You care. If you didn't care, you wouldn't be disappointed. So it's a good sign. Now it's on the path to apathy. That's not a good thing, but at least you're there, and it's a signal. It's an emotional signal to say you care. Number two, it means you're alive and you're human and you want to feel something different, and you've identified a feeling that you don't want to feel. And then number three is you really want more out of life. You want more out of this marriage, and you should go for more. You deserve more. So listen, no disappointment means that you don't care. So right out of the get-go, don't beat yourself up. Affirm yourself that, hey, being disappointed means that I really care about this stuff. Now, there's all kinds of ways to get your spark back if you are married, and to woo someone if you are single or you have a crush on somebody. Which, by the way, if you're single, do you have a crush on somebody? Let us know in the comments section. This should be interactive so we can help each other out. Well, in this training, I'm going to give you 3 tests. You just got to pass them with at least a 65, maybe a 70%. and you will woo somebody, and you'll create those sparks again. I know this from experience. When I don't pass these tests, there's no sparks. When I do pass these tests, there's definitely sparks. Okay, so everyone knows what the spark is, right? I don't have to define what a spark is. I mean, you feel alive, right? So we won't go into all the woo-woo, this is exciting, my heart's pounding, I just want to be around this person, etc. And there's a science behind it. Your blood is literally rushing through your body quicker. You have pleasure hormones like oxytocin that's being released. And the same biochemical, so bio means life, chemicals are these neurotransmitters, oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin. These are being released inside of you to make you feel rush, to make you feel this spark, to make you feel this, holy cow, I think I'm falling for somebody. And it's all the same thing in each of us. So Joyce is single but pre-engaged. So little more than a crush. What does pre-engaged mean? Tell us what pre-engaged means since you're single. So we all have this same thing going on inside of us. But here's the question. How do you get those biochemical actions and reactions in your crush to occur for you? And how do you make yourself and your spouse feel alive again when you're just kind of tired of trying? Well, the number one thing, okay, so Gail says, I have more than a crush. I still love him, but he's currently dating someone else. Yeah, so hey, listen, somebody speak into Gail's life there. Read what she just said. She's got a crush. She still loves him, but he's currently dating somebody else. Because maybe we can help her out there. Have you talked to him about it? Have you asked him? Or you don't want to butt in, or what? Okay, so Joyce is planning to get married, but no ring or official proposal. I get it. So you're committed. You're committed to getting married. Listen, your thoughts are what leads, and your crushes and your spouse's thoughts are what lead to this spark. So it all begins with the thoughts, and it creates the chemical reactions in the body of where you feel in your chest like your heart's going to come out of your chest because you feel so good about somebody. Now here's why it's important. Everyone on this planet, every human being gives and receives love just a little bit differently. So what makes me feel loved and feel a spark most of the time isn't exactly what makes my wife feel loved and a spark most of the time, and vice versa. And it's going to be the same with you and your crush and your spouse. And you may think, well, Aaron, it's easy with other people that I dream about. I just feel alive, and I feel like they feel alive towards me, and we just click, but I don't with my spouse anymore. Yes, but it's all still in your imagination, and it's your thoughts that are triggering these chemicals inside of us to make us feel this way. And once you connect, if you did ever connect with them over time, no matter who you're with, you will see that you give and receive love a little bit differently than what they do in how they receive and give love and how they create a spark. And the reason why this is so relevant is because there was one insightful big study that's very important. And this study you've probably heard of, and it's the first test that you got to pass. And it's called the 5 love languages. Put your hand up if you've heard of the 5 love languages, whether you're joining now or later. Now, the love language test, I'm not talking about taking the test. Okay, I see you helping Gail out. Very good. Help her out. The love language test, I don't mean just take the test. So you could go online and you could type in 5 love languages and you could take a test. That's not what I'm referring to. You can take the test, but what I'm challenging all of us to do is to identify what your crush's love language is and then leverage that love language for them. Or your spouse, what is their love language, and then leverage that love language for them. Are you using the love languages to create a spark? That's what I'm challenging us to do, to create the sparks. Because every time that I use Pandy's love language on her in genuine ways, she just naturally draws closer to me. Now, the premise of the love language, as you guys probably know, I see Joyce has read the book, is different people with different personalities express love in different ways. And Gary Chapman is the one who oversaw this, and he found that individuals, your crush, your spouse included, has at least one primary love language that they prefer above everything else. And this is where it gets interesting. So if you can use their love language on them, it's like bringing a match to a campfire. The fire's not going to start itself. The sparks don't start itself. But you have a match. And once you've identified your crush's or your spouse's love language, it's pretty simple to use. We just forget about it. We're in the moment. We stop thinking about the love languages. But whenever a person feels their love language, and whoever's using it towards us, we feel a little bit of a spark towards that person, don't we? And you know what the love languages are, right? So I see some of you raising your hands here. So physical touch, of course, isn't all about the bedroom. This person loves touch. Not surprisingly, they're touchy. Hugs, pats on the back, holding hands, thoughtful touches on the arm, wrist, back, shoulders, face. Shows them that you're excited about them, or you're concerned, or you care, or really they feel loved. Physical presence and accessibility are crucial for the person's love language of physical touch. If you neglect them, if you're absent from their life a lot, and there's abuse, that can be debilitating, devastating, and unforgivable to this kind of person. But physical touch fosters security, certainty, and belonging. So here's the idea. If you have a crush on someone, or you're married to someone, let's say it's a crush. If I was starting all over again, I would figure out what their primary love language is, and I might go up behind them and just kind of touch their elbow on the way by. Or do things like that are appropriate ways of touch. And if you're married and watching this, hey, a slap on the butt doesn't hurt. A kiss on the head, a quick shoulder rub on a daily basis. The idea is that you create the sparks, and there's very practical ways that have been identified on our planet how you can create the sparks, that you can demystify how to get the sparks, and yet still feel the mystery of the sparks that get your heart rushing. You still feel that. So listen, to this person, nothing speaks more deeply than physical touch. It lights something up inside of them for you, and you can create that spark. So let me ask you, is your primary love language physical touch? Type below yes or no. And if you have a crush or you're married to someone, what's one action you could take towards them if their primary love language is physical touch? So Gail's is physical touch. His is words of affirmation, all right? The other love language, so a few of you may not know this, and people jumping in may not know this, but acts of service. And it's like, can vacuuming floors really be an expression of love? Come to find out, it is, because I'm married to someone whose primary language is acts of service. Anything you can do to ease the burden of responsibilities weighing on an acts of service person will speak volumes. The words that he or she needs to hear is this: let me do that for you. So you're out and you're with a crush, or you like somebody. Hey, let me do that for you. Let me get that for you. Let me help you out. Laziness, broken commitments, making more work for them tells them that you don't care that much, or their spark doesn't matter that much to you. But if you serve them, it will create a spark. Okay, so physical touch. Is anybody's love language this one? Okay, you think yours is physical touch, you think your husband's is acts of service. Okay, so if you think it is, maybe take the quick test so that you know for sure. The third one is quality time. For these people, like my youngest daughter, I'm pretty sure it's quality time. Hey, they just say, I love you, I want you, we go well together when they're going to feel like you just click like pieces of a puzzle if you spend quality, undivided attention to them. Yes, you can be in their presence, but it's really undivided attention. The TV's off, you put the silverware down, all the chores and the tasks are on standby, and you make this significant other feel truly heard and special because you're just wanting to spend time with them. so you don't get distracted when you're in their presence. You don't postpone dates. And if you're failing to really listen to them, it's going to be especially hurtful to them. So I see Joyce, this quality time. So Marcia doesn't know. So listen to some of these and try to identify what they are. And you may even want to ask him to take the test. I would ask. I wouldn't care if they know. Hey man, what's your primary love language? I'm here. I want to know. Because I want to be a good friend to you. Or I just want to know. I wouldn't even say friend because I want it to be more than a friend. Then 4 is words of affirmation, right? Actions don't always speak louder than words. With these people, words of affirmation are everything. Unsolicited compliments mean the world to these people. Hearing the words, I love you, you are important. Yeah, that's a good thing to these people. But hearing the reasons behind that love that you have for them sends their spirits skyrocketing, and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I really like this person. They get me, they affirm me, and they're going to start just that little spark's going to be created. You never want to insult these people because they'll never forget it. But verbal encouragement means the world to these people. Maybe that's yours. Okay, so he stopped talking to you because he's dating someone else. Doesn't believe in being friends with an ex while you're in a relationship. I insist on staying friends with my ex, and that is part of what broke us up and what kept us getting back together. Okay, so Melissa's words of affirmation. Yeah, so Melissa, you're like a rock, and because I've seen you in action. And people really appreciate words of affirmation if that's their primary love language. It's crazy how this works, but it's simple to use, right? And then the last one is receiving gifts. So don't make this mistake that it's just materialism and you can just buy them stuff. They thrive on the love, thoughtfulness behind getting them a gift. And if you speak if that your crush or your spouse speaks this language, the perfect gesture shows that, hey, I see you, I know you, I care about you, and they feel really like you really get them, and that they're prized above whatever you had to sacrifice to get that gift for them. If you miss their birthday, miss an anniversary, or you're hasty, or a thoughtless gift can be disastrous. So gifts for them are visual representations of love, and they're treasured greatly. So again, listen, if it's me and I'm going to identify what their love language is. I will do whatever it takes to figure it out. Because this is their primary language. And this is my in to make them feel a spark towards me, for me to create a little bit of spark. So on this test number 1, we mistakenly assume as human beings that if our partners or potentials love us, they will react and behave in certain ways. The ways that we react and behave when we love someone. Let me say that again. This gets us in trouble. We mistakenly assume that if potential spouses or our current spouses love us and feel a spark for us, they will react and behave in certain ways, in ways that we react and behave when we love someone or we feel a spark, or what causes the spark. That it will be the same cause. And that is so not true, as I think everybody knows. So using test number 1, you just got to get like a 65%. Just use it sometimes, and it will create the little sparks, and they're going to start, oh my gosh, this person kind of gets me. It's simple, it's practicable, and it's enjoyable. You don't need to score a high score on this just to create some sparks. But it's a must. And for a lot of people, it's a aha moment. I said yaha because I saw the word Yoda. Marshall said I got him a yoga figure ornament. He was happy to get him. Okay, so it could be gifts. Test number 2. I like how you guys are helping each other out down there. Test number 2 is get on the same page. If you can feel like you're on the same page, or get them to feel like you just click with them, there's going to be sparks. The couples that I always talk to, like I did some premarital counseling last night. But I hear this all the time. They always tell me 2 things in one sentence. And this couple last night did not tell me this. But I always hear this from other couples. We lost our spark. We just can't get on the same page. those two seem to be on the same, different sides of the same coin. Like the two things are linked. We lost our spark and we can't get on the same page. But when you get somebody on the same page, you'll feel the spark again. They'll say things like, she just gets me. He understands me. I felt so heard. We share a vision. Anybody ever said that? Man, I felt so heard. He gets me. He understands me. That's because you're on the same page with some topic or some feeling. And we both want the same thing. Like we're soulmates, man. So listen, getting on the same page is critical to creating a spark. So instead of telling you how to get on the same page, what I'm going to do is put a link in the comments section. I created something to help singles woo people, and they can identify people that they would be a good match for, and to create a spark with, to create compatibility with, which is this mutual affection and admiration and appreciation for each other. And for marriages, for couples, to get back on the same page. And you can have this document, you fill this document out together, and you can use it to keep getting back on the same page. So I thought it would be better, instead of just blah, 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 which is fine, to actually give you it's like a 46-page document that you can have. So I'm just going to copy and paste the link and put it in the comment section. It's going to help you with your emotional fitness too, since emotional fitness is what determines the quality of any intimate relationship. Most of us are unfit emotionally when we get married, right? So if you look at what the greats say, like King Solomon back in the day, he says this in his book Proverbs. He was a Jew. He was the king of the Jews. And for all we know, he was called the smartest, wisest person on the planet. He had his 401k, his IRAs maxed out, he had gold, he had the castle, he traveled, he went wherever he wanted, he married who he wanted, he won the wars, it was peaceful in his reign, so everybody loved him, and for all we know, he was a really great dude. And he said, above all else, that was his phrase, above all else, so above the gold, above the retirement, above the security, all that you think that's going to give you, above marrying the right person, above traveling the world, right? That's what a lot of people want. I'm just thinking about what he said in Ecclesiastes and what he said in Proverbs. He said, I've traveled the world. I drank what I wanted. I ate what I wanted. I made as much money as I wanted. I built castles. I can live with whatever home I want. I marry whoever I want. I can go out to Disney World as many times as I want. I can build my own Disney World. All right, he could do whatever he wanted, anytime he wanted. He loved his work. He didn't have to go to work. He had the life. He's now dead, but before he died, he said, above all that, if I could give you one thing to remember, he said, guard your heart. Now, Christians, because that's in the Bible, in the Old Testament, say, see that, that's what Christians should do. All humans should do it. He was not a Christian. All humans should guard their heart. And what that means is your emotions. By heart, they meant emotions. So guard your emotions to make sure you are mastering your emotions, because the quality of your life is the quality of your relationships, and the quality of your relationships is the quality of your emotional fitness. And if you're a Christian, you can even go to Jesus and said, it's not what goes into your body that counts, like food. It's what comes out of your what? Your heart, your emotions. You have to be emotionally fit. And Jesus said that was the number one thing. So the greats always talk about emotional fitness. So how you master your emotions, or how you're mastered by your emotions, is the single biggest difference in people who feel totally alive in their marriages and in their dating and in their relationships, and those who do not. Both can be very great people, but those who feel alive, who feel the sparks, are emotionally fit with all those emotions. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, good. They're constantly mastering those emotions. They put the work in to their emotions. And that's what relationships are. They're all emotions. And if the emotional state is great in an individual, the relationship they have is typically great, especially if the other person is also emotionally fit. If the emotional fitness is just ho-hum and okay, then the relationship is ho-hum and okay. If the emotional fitness is bad, the relationship is bad. If the emotional fitness is suffering, the relationship suffers. It's every time. So just take an inventory of your own emotional fitness when you're in the midst of an argument or happiness, and you'll be able to tie it back to your emotional fitness in that moment and just say, okay, what do I need to work on in my heart right now to get emotionally fit so I can enjoy this relationship even more? You can have the spark anytime that you want. And people want to feel alive again by dating somebody, by marrying somebody, and even after 50 years of marriage, not just to say, hey, we're at our 50th anniversary and we're going to cut some cake, celebrate us for being married for 50 years. I have to tell you, I don't think, and I'm probably in the minority here, I don't think it's some great accomplishment to stay married for 50 years just because you stayed married. Well, I mean, what's that worth celebrating? Like, you only live once. I want us to feel alive, and you probably want to feel alive. And if you are not happy in your most intimate relationship, your happiness is way low compared to what it could be, and that's going to bleed over into everything else. Your work, making money, your friendships. So people in marital institutions should strive for more. If you're disappointed, that's good. You're striving for more than a sense of, oh, we're just staying married. Okay, see you guys talking back and forth, asking some good questions down there. Yeah, it's 46 pages, but it'll be very helpful. Very helpful. It's not like a book. It's for you to answer questions together with somebody or on your own in hopes of dating somebody. So look, I hope you're hearing, any relationship can be brought back to passion and aliveness and love again. So write down in the comment section what questions, let's pause for a moment, what questions you may have related to this subject of relationships, of love, of marriage, of dating, of feeling alive again, any of that. I'm open to interactive coaching. Type those down below if you haven't already, and I'll take a peek while I'm going to take a minute to copy and paste that link in the comments section so that you can download it. Okay, so Kim says, I feel invisible to men. Okay, paste in the link now. Okay, looks like it's in there. I hope that works. Let me test it out here. Nope, that didn't work. Okay, it looks like a couple of you feel invisible. Yeah, that works. Okay, so if you just keep trying, if you can't get it to download, then type in the comments section and tag me, and I'll help you get it. I'll send it to you personally. But it's working on my end. So what can you do to be noticed? Okay, a few of you feel that way. Let me get out of this. So some of you are looking for a guy, sounds like. Well, I can tell you one way not to get noticed. Don't come across as needy. Okay, I see some comments. I don't know why it is, but coming across as needy is not a character trait or a trait that guys find attractive. Now, once I'm married, like, I want to provide and take care of my wife. And more men need to man up and take care of their spouses. Right? So, but when you're dating or trying to get a date, like, an independent, confident, happy woman is going to get noticed. So if you're happy, you know, it's crazy, because once you start being confident on your own and saying, you know what, I'm perfectly happy all by myself, I don't need you. You don't say that to a man. Then all of a sudden, there's something interesting there. Like, I think Taylor Swift has got this line in one of her songs that says something about men love to be tortured. Men only want love if it's torture. Is that what it is? Okay, the link's going to your C drive. Okay. I'll go back in a little bit later. Thank you, Elizabeth, for letting me know. Hi, by the way. And Elizabeth, I got one of your coaching reports. Let me know. I was going to send you a message today to see how the other one's coming, how you're getting out, if that's filled out yet or not. But are you guys hearing me? Like, never come across as needy. That's not something that a guy's going to find attractive. And I think Taylor means by that line in her song, men only want love if it's torture. Don't say I didn't warn you. I think that's the way it goes. There's something strange about not knowing if she likes me. You get it? So the moment I realize she likes me, then I have a sense of certainty. And there's something in a man that enjoys the process of really trying to get her to admit that she likes him, which is going to frustrate you, because you're going to be like, well, then I'll say it, and then we'll go happily ever after. But if you can drag that out just a little bit and torture his poor soul, is that not making sense, or does that make sense? Don't be needy. If you can be confident, happy, and independent, stand on your own 2 feet, he'll find that attractive. And then take care of yourself. Put on a nice shirt. Put on some deodorant. Right? Take care of yourself that way. Like, if I met my wife today, she can get her own income, she's happy, and she no longer needs me. And now that's going to drive me crazy, because I want her to want me. And if I want her, that's even more. Other questions you guys have for each other. I'm not settling. Yeah, you shouldn't settle. They're wanting me to take care of them. Oh, yeah, you don't want a man. Look, if you got a man that wants you to take care of him, I have very low respect for that. Like, you might have to spell that out a little bit, but I mean, this is recorded, so I'm hesitant to say this, but what kind of man just wants to? Do they just want to sit on the couch? They are needy. Yeah, you know what? A lot more boys, they do not have male mentors in our culture anymore, more and more, and so they're becoming needy, which is too bad. Okay, so I'll get that link set up. Test number 3 you've heard of, I'm sure, is the Myers-Briggs test. I'll be looking down here, by the way. And the reason why I included this one is because my wife loves this test. and she uses it all the time. They need a mama. Yeah, they need to grow up is what they need to do. Where can you meet decent guys? Well, it depends on what your list is. You need to sit down, you need to write 50 things that you desire in a man. And then I can tell you where the environments are. But, church is going to be, you increase your probabilities of meeting a decent guy in church. It doesn't mean they are decent. They could be lying. They could be deceiving. But you increase your probabilities at these environments. Church, the gym, guys who dress nice, or just they're confident, not cocky, but confident. They're humble. What I always say is be humble and be hungry. So they're humble, meaning they think of you, they cherish you, they take care of you, and they're hungry to be successful. Where do you try to meet guys? Has anybody gone on a singles cruise? What's that like? Okay, so the Myers-Briggs personality test, it's a test that's going to let you know how your crush or your spouse thinks and perceives the world around them, and will show their tendencies. So it's going to give you an unfair advantage to create the sparks. So if you're approaching them, you'll know their language, how they think, how they perceive the world. Okay, at work and shopping. So you look for guys who are shopping, or while you're shopping, you're on the lookout. Yeah, you're limiting your environments. Join clubs. Join a club just to meet a guy. There's another site that I oversee about meeting your future spouse, and some of them get mad at me for this, but I'm like, change churches. Most of them are involved in a church. You shouldn't change a church just to meet a guy. It's all about God. Well, okay. Well, why did you stick at that church? Is it because they had good sermons, or did you just sense God was there and only there? Is God not at other churches? And if there's men here and not men there, and God's at both, okay, go to the one where there's also men if you're trying to meet a man or a woman. So if you know the Myers-Briggs, it's understanding their behavior. So like we learned this early on in our marriage when Penny and I would go to parties or out in public spaces or places. We would come home and we're like, are we not meant to be together? Like we seem like such opposites. What's up? We never heard about the Myers-Briggs or any of that. But once we took the test, we began to realize that we complemented one another, and it brought back some of those sparks. And the test here, how do you get the guy to speak your love language? Well, you go on some dates and you tell him what the love language is. I would ask. I would say, what's your love language? Oh, you don't know what it is? What a love language is? Take the test, man. At some point, I would ask. I'd just be explicit. I would probably do it after some flirting, after I sensed a little bit of a spark, and then I would take the risk. I don't care. I go for what I want. I'm going to have to change my environment, and I can't do a lot. Okay. So there's 16 personality types, and each type has 4 letters to represent them. And I'm always surprised. A lot of people don't know about the Myers-Briggs. So somebody asked you out on a date and he was already married. Did you go out on a date with him when he was married? Gail? Always check for a ring. I don't wear a ring and I'm married. So you're going to have to do more than check for a ring. You can go online and take the Myers-Briggs in less than 10 minutes. The idea is to find out you and your spouse or your crush's 4 letters. It's going to give you 4 letters after you take this 5 to 10 minute test. And plus, and this is really relevant, it's going to show you who you're naturally compatible with. and how you and your crush or your spouse, even if you're not naturally compatible with them, how you can work together to create the sparks. So you know, just to give you a brief overview of it, the first potential letters is you're either an E or an I, which is an extrovert or an introvert. These are all on a spectrum, by the way. You're not totally an E or totally an I. You can be a little bit of both. And this is how you get your energy in life and how you express your emotions. And the extrovert gets their energy from being around people and they express their emotions outwardly, whereas the introvert gets their energy from being by oneself. And then after they've recharged, they can go be around people. But they need periods of quiet reflection, and they express their feelings and emotion with actions more so than words. So Penny and I would be out at church or parties or friends' home, and I would gravitate towards everyone because I'm a high E, you can tell, and the crowds. And she was over in the corner talking to one person. And then on the way home, I'm like, why didn't you go talk to everybody? And she's like, can you tell me anything about all those people you talked to? And it hit me that I couldn't. And she could tell me everything about that one person because she gets so laser focused and she's getting her energy from that one and only one conversation. So we realized that we complemented one another. And from now on, when we go out on our way back, we say, how did you see the world? Where did you get your energy from? What was that like being an introvert like an extrovert? Because we're just different. And if you're an extrovert and you try to get this introvert date or your crush to act like you and to get their energy from things that you get your energy from, it might overwhelm them and the sparks are gone. But if you're sensitive to who they are and what their personality type is, the sparks will come back because they're going to be what? They get me. The second one is sensing versus intuition. So this is about if the first one's how you get your energy, the second one is how you collect your information. So the sensory person, so this is a high S, they gather facts. So how do they get the information from the outside world? They look at the facts in their immediate environment and they rely on things that they can see, feel, and hear. Whereas intuitives, that's me, I look at patterns and meaning and I'm like, what does this mean? Why are they saying this? Why would they do that? Okay, so Gail's an INFJ. I'm an ENFJ. All right? And so Gail and I, as N's, we're constantly reading into things. Why would he say something like that? Why did she ask that question? Whereas the sensories just takes, hey, the fact is the fact. I see it, I taste it, I touch it, I feel it. And they don't read into very many things. So you can see why there would be a lot of miscommunication. Now, you can look up, by the way, how does an S communicate? What kind of questions should you ask them? So you can Google that. So if you find out your date or your crush or your spouse is a high S or a high N, you can Google what questions do they like to hear and would make them more engaged towards me. My wife and I still do this. We did it last month because we were like, misfiring on our conversations. So we Googled that stuff and then began to ask each other those questions again. So I'm a vision guy. And if I talk about vision and big picture ideas as an N, she's going to be overwhelmed because she's an S. So we're different on the first two, and then we're the same on the last two, which the third one is thinking versus feeling, T versus F. So this is all about how you make decisions. So if you're on a date or you're with your spouse and you're trying to decide to go on an adventure, if they're a T, they're trying to make logical decisions. Where an F are feelers. They make their decisions, where to go on a trip, the money, how to treat people based on their emotions and the needs of other people. So if your crush is a T and you ask them, hey, what are your thoughts? What's the logical thing to do here? They feel like they're on the same page with you. If they're an F, you want to make sure their emotions are engaged. And then the last one, and again, I'm briefly skating over these just so you're aware of them, is J versus P. So the first one's E versus I, extrovert, introvert. Second one is N versus S. That's how you gather your information from the outer world. The first one's how you get energy and how your date will get energy or how your spouse gets their energy. Since my wife is an I, when she comes home, I don't overwhelm her. I let her go get her energy after she comes home from work, and then she's recharged, we're ready to go. And then the third one is thinking versus feeling. That's how people make their decisions generally. And then the last one is judging versus perceiving, J versus P. And this is how you organize your environment. So a J is has calendars everywhere. They're scheduled. They want to be on time. Time matters to them. Calendars matter to them. If you go on a trip, they want to go see A, B, C, D, and E, and they've kind of got it scheduled out. Where a P wakes up and says, hey, what are we going to do today? I don't know, but don't try to put me in a box. Don't set a calendar. Don't hold me down to a certain time. So you can see why there's conflict. And maybe you're on a date and it's going well, and all of a sudden their P comes out or their J comes out. Their P comes out. That sounded bizarre. But they're perceptive more than judging, right? And so there's an argument. And it's like, oh, maybe this isn't God's will for my life and I should just not date this person. No, it's simply we weren't aware of their tendencies. But now that you can be aware of them, you're like, oh, they're a P. And they don't want to be boxed in like this. Right? And so our youngest daughter is a P and the rest of us are J's. And when we're on a walk, she just starts looking at the butterflies and we're ready to go to the next place. And so we've realized, without the P in our life, without her, we would be like missing so much of reality because she's enjoying everything spontaneously. So look, you can get online and you can see who you're compatible with. And if you take the Myers-Briggs, it will also show you your romantic matches. And if you're like, oh gosh, I'm already married and we're not a romantic match, neither is my wife and I. We didn't know about Myers-Briggs when we got married. Now you can identify things so that you can get the sparks back if it doesn't come naturally because that's not your normal tendencies. So no one type is better than another type. Each has their own equally valued gifts and strengths. But certain types gravitate towards certain energy and how they make decisions and all that. And it's important. I'm trying to give you an unfair advantage so that you can take that match and create sparks with somebody you find attractive for whatever reason and whatever you think attractive is. Okay? You don't need to get an A on all these tests. But if you pass these tests, your marriage is going to blossom. You're going to feel the sparks more than not. You'll feel a compatibility and a connection with them. Okay. You guys have any other questions? Yeah, so you're both P's. Which are driving J crazy. But J and P's are compatible, by the way, on the Myers-Briggs. They're romantically compatible. I think my romantic match is like an INFP, something like that. Even though I'm an ENFJ. So there's more strategies to create sparks. You know this. And I just didn't want to spend 2 hours going over all these things. And they may even work better for you. But these are the 3 tests that will give you an unfair advantage. And several of you have indicated you've already, so Professor there is calendars all the way, so she's a high J for sure. You've already taken these tests or you've heard about these tests. But my challenge to you is to leverage in a positive way, not manipulate in a negative way, leverage them to create sparks. Use them on purpose to create sparks. So my wife's acts of service. And I'm like, are you serious? So I got a vacuum and stuff to make you feel loved. But like last night on the way home, I got home late. She texted me, say, hey, can you go to the store and pick up X, Y, and Z for the kids? All I got to do is go there because it takes some burden off of her. And because her love language is acts of service, like it will make her feel way, way out in cloud 9 just by doing that simple thing. Whereas mine's gifts. If she just brings me home a gift, right? It's a big time. So Justin's an ESTP and I'm an ISFP. We think. Yeah, take it. You can go online and take these for free. And then you can also look up romantic matches. And by the way, there's apps. If you go in the app store and type in Myers-Briggs, there's an app that will show you what you are. You take the test real quick and show you your romantic matches and then how to meet each other's needs. And you can also do that, I think it's called Love Nudge, which is the, what was the first test? The love languages. So I think it's called Love Languages or Love Nudge in the App Store. And you can communicate by phone if your love tank is full or not during the day. If you're already married, that's a great app to communicate with each other. So what strategies would you add for each other that would create sparks? Type those below for people that come in later and watch these, or even for ourselves. Type those strategies that you found that have worked. Okay, so you're both INFJ. That's cool. So you guys are super sensitive. You have very sweet hearts. His F's are very sensitive about what other people are feeling in the room, and N's are always trying to figure out what people mean. And at the same time, I's trying to get their energy from their inner world, and definitely scheduled, that helps. So what strategies would you add? And then I want you to type this, because I have like I have gobs and gobs and gobs of relationship material. But I thought I'd just ask, what strategies would you like to hear, or what would you like to hear on relationships that would be of service to you? Because I'm here to serve you and to help you. Tell him that I appreciate him. You're saying that about yourself? My crush likes to hear that he is loved and appreciated. Yeah, do it in public, Dana. Brag on him in public. And by brag, I mean admire him. If he walks away from you saying something where he feels admired, he'll never forget what you just said. He'll be on cloud 9. So what do you want to hear? If I don't hear anything, then I'll think whatever's best to help you. But with that, hey, you deserve to feel alive. You deserve that. You don't settle. Don't settle. You deserve to feel alive. If you're disappointed, or you get disappointed in a month, in a year, in 10 years in your marriage, that's a good sign, because that means you want more and that means you care. You deserve to have the ultimate marriage. You deserve to have romance. You deserve to feel the sparks. You deserve to create the sparks. You deserve to have happily ever after, to have your version of happily ever after. You're going to be dead soon. Sorry for the depression. So you deserve to go get it, and you need to commit to it and go get it. I hope you use some of this stuff and you let me know how it goes. I have people that are DMing me in this group that aren't always on these videos, giving me updates, and they're killing it. But I love you guys. Leave your comments below, any questions that you have, and any strategies that you would add, and anything that you would like to hear in the month of February. And I'll give you updates as we go along. Much love.